Can you name one black invention?
I can actually name three. Twerking, KFC, and being really loud.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter?
Yeah.
Can you do like any better? Like something that was useful to society?
No.
Why is that?
Because that's the only thing I know that was invented by black people, peanut butter. That's it.
Why do you think there's like literally almost nothing else?
I don't know.
Does it have to do with them being black?
Huh?
Does it have to do with them being black? That they're not able to invent as much stuff?
Possibly.
Possibly?
Yeah.
Like, people think life started in Africa, right? And Africa is one of the most resourceful continent. So why couldn't they invent something before the Arabs had to bring them the wheel?
I don't know.
But why are people scared to say that? Like, obviously people have their strengths and weaknesses. Like, we can acknowledge that black people, you know, they sprint the fastest. There's most of the NBA is black. Why can't we say?
It's just like that, for example, like with like physicality aspects, like it just matters on like the genetics, you know? And they usually say because, you know, with slavery, they had like them procreate with the strongest and fast whatever. But it just comes down to like your genetics, I don't know.
Where was the first ambulance service created in the U.S.? That's right, Pittsburgh. Right here in Pennsylvania. First ambulance service, 1967, was Freedom House. And it was pioneered in the black community. All communities were being failed. You called emergency services, it was basically the police, they'd come by, they'd throw you in the back of a police cruiser, take you to the emergency room, no care. And what these 25 black men and women did, who were pioneers, the first paramedics in the United States, what they did was the first EKG in the field, the first intubation, the first shot, electrodefibrillation of the heart. That was done here in Pennsylvania by these EMS workers at Freedom House. And the reason why it was black workers is because as bad as things were everywhere else, it was worse in the black community. It was because these people, when they called the police, they weren't always greeted with, let's get you to the hospital, greeted with skepticism, greeted with a lot of doubt and suspicion. This was the community that needed it the most. But this was the model for the rest of the nation. And I think it's important as we celebrate our 250th anniversary that we don't whitewash, we don't push this aside, we don't shrink from our history, we talk about it, we learn from it.
Imagine building a country, mining and never getting credit for it. There's a reason this conversation keeps coming back, because history hasn't been told completely. Black Americans didn't just exist in this country, they helped build it. From labor to innovation to systems people rely on every day. And yet, a lot of that history is either minimized or ignored. Take something as basic as emergency medical response, the modern ambulance system, developed through black innovation. But how often is that taught?
Do y'all remember when Trump said, they taking all the black jobs? I bet you he wasn't thinking about this black job. Let me tell you something. Let's talk about one important black job that many of you have today, being a paramedic. Let's get into it.
We must put America first. This is a nation that invented the light bulb, the telegraph, the television, the telephone, the computer chip, the smartphone, the GPS, the integrated circuit, and even the internet. Basically, we invented everything. What is left? We invented everything.
This right here is one of the whitest things that Trump could have ever done. He's being a white man. This is what a white man does. He comes, he conquers, and takes credit. They always been doing. And then you know what blacks thought was the best option? They made it to where it was easier for them to take credit for our work. You wanna know how? Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King made it to where there's no more segregation, but now there's integration. And now we come together. And now it's just easier for them. Now they ain't gotta go to a whole different country on the other side of the world to take credit for someone else's work, because all the people that's doing all the amazing work, it's inside of their country, under their rules, following their laws, under their shelter. It's easier. Now they're right next to us. The enemies are living next door. Now you got people who think that white people invented the computer chips. White people invented the telephone. White people invented everything, even though it was actually blacks.
things white people have accomplished. 97% of inventions were made by Europeans. And there's actually a website when they say like the traffic light or peanut butter was invented by black people. I don't think they've invented anything actually. There's a website that like fact checks these black inventions, and you look deeper into it and usually they're all from white people that they might have added something or it was like completely stolen. So why are we not taught about that?
Wow, there's a site debunking black inventions?
Yeah, I didn't even invent peanut butter, so I don't think they've invented anything actually.
Is this a measuring contest of which race is better? Do you see something in us that we probably don't even see in ourselves? Do you look at us like so superior to the point that you have to say, look, you didn't make that, you're not that good? It's similar to like, if there's a really, really attractive girl and there's a girl who's maybe not as attractive and not getting as much attention, she goes out of her way to basically go, hey, she's a liar, she's ugly. Everyone clearly sees that when it comes to beauty. You are being disrespectful because you don't have something or you feel inferior. You need to work on yourself instead of tearing down that beautiful woman. That's how we see it. Why do you need to stand so high above black people? Why do you need to keep on making it a thing where you keep on telling the world that you're better?
If you're really going to be a racist, then you should be a true racist and not use anything or be involved with anything that was invented or created by blacks. Do you want a list? The ironing board, the refrigerator, the baby carriage, the shoemaking machines, the traffic signal, the incandescent light bulb, the folding bed, the mailbox, air conditioning, elevator. You want me to go on?
Black people invented everything. Happy Black History Month. Economics. All of the world's economic systems, including both socialism and capitalism, can be traced back to ancient black civilizations. Money itself was an invention of these ancient civilizations. Across ancient Africa, India, and southern China, cowrie shells were used as currency at least 5,000 years ago. Healthcare. Black people developed the world's first training programs for healers, the first medical schools in Africa over 20,000 years ago. We also required quality care, implementing the first malpractice policies for doctors who failed to heal their patients. Housing. Black people built the first shelters and housing structured over 800,000 years ago in the Near East. Before this, our ancestors used natural shelters or portable structures they could disassemble and move around with ease. By the time Europeans came, they were building multi-story complexes with glass windows and balconies. Black people invented everything. Get the book. The link is here.
Surprised when they find out that a black person invented something.
Oh, a little statistic I read the other day.
Tell me.
A black kid invented the doorknob. Did you know that?
Google it.
That guy invented the door fucking knob, dude.
What the hell were they doing before?
They were difficult to open. I mean, but he made it, and he made no money off of it. He just, people just stole it from him. Like, I could have thought of that. And just took it from him. That guy invented it. Osmond Dorsey, fucking credit to him.
It's almost like they could never see it. But that also makes me think of why black history is so important, because they think all we do is shoot basketballs and catch footballs. But no, way back, 1800s, 1900s, even the 1700s, black people weren't all slaves. Black people weren't all poor. We did everything, okay? So I think it's weird that even today in 2025, we still see black people as like this subhuman group that like barely invented the wheel or something. No, black Americans been out here in these streets inventing stuff. Just like this brother right here, Osborne Dorsey, who invented the doorknob and got the patent in 1878. You get what I'm saying? So shout out to him and his relatives that are still here. But no, black Americans been out here in these streets. You can just look up the millions and millions of things that we had our hands on.
Everybody around the world copies African Americans and then yet disrespects them. GPS is a black woman. Well, 3D imaging is a black woman. Laser eye surgery is a black woman. Escalators a black inventor. Elevators a black inventor. The roller coaster, the cell phone, our video games is Jerry Lawson. Mary Van Brighton. In 1966, she invented the home security. You're talking about open heart surgery, Daniel Hale. Plasma, Charles Drew. We can keep going. Surgical equipment. Black people inventing, just constantly inventing. And they took everything and lied. And black people are still thriving. Black women have the highest degrees in America. These are the same women that were operated on with no anesthesia, but they're #1 in academics. Atrocities that African Americans have been through, I'm surprised we are this peaceful.
All right, racists, let's talk about the part of history you like to tout the most. Black inventions. And along with those inventions comes the receipts. Racist America has pretended for far too long that black people haven't created or invented most things, if not every single thing we use daily. They like to pretend that the toolbox of life just appeared out of nowhere, or that it was gifted by some default white guy. Then they act shocked every single time a black indigenous American shows up in the patent record. This pattern in history of gaslighting and erasure ends now. So why don't we break the spell with a hit list of under-referenced black American inventors, whose work you touch, hear, and rely on every single day, whether you say their names or not. This is what I call the not-so-familiar list. James E. West co-invented the electric microphone in 1962. That tiny capsule in smartphones, laptops, hearing aids, and almost every modern mic, brought to you by a black man, James West. George Edward Alcorn Jr. built the imaging X-ray spectrometer in 1984 that sharpened space and materials research. NASA named him Inventor of the Year. Translation, he built the instruments that actually see what the naked eye can't. Black brilliance. Meredith Gourdine pioneered electro-gas dynamics, devices like incinerate cut smoke and industrial pollution. He engineered the actual physics. David N. Crosswaite Jr., architect of modern HVAC controls for big buildings. He has 39 U.S. patents, some of which include heating systems for Radio City Music Hall as well as Rockefeller Center. So when you visit these places, your climate comfort is running on David's math. Walter Lincoln Hawkins created durable polymer cable sheathing so telephone lines could survive the sun and harsh weather. Otis Boykin designed precision resistors that stabilized consumer electronics and pacemaker controls. George Carruthers invented the far ultraviolet camera / spectrograph used on Apollo 16 to image Earth's atmosphere and interstellar space. When science looked farther, it used George's instrument. Jerry Lawson led the team behind the interchangeable video game cartridge, the truest pioneer to console gaming. Jesse Russell was the key architect of digital cellular systems and base station tech. He laid the groundwork for the networks that your phone lives on. Marion Croak is the holder of 200+ patents in voice over IP and internet call tech. So as far as internet calling as a service, she operationalized the pipeline. Valerie Thomas, the pioneer behind the Illusion Transmitter 3D image tech at NASA. Bessie Blount Griffin, inventor of the self-feeding device used for amputees and a disposable emesis basin. It's a clinical design that restored autonomy to its users in this country. Then it spread internationally. Alice H. Parker created the 1919 patent for a gas-fired centrally zoned heating furnace. She also planted the seed ideas for modern home heating segmentation. Miriam E. Benjamin, in 1888, created the gong and signal chair, a call button system predating hotel service alerts. The start of push to summon was formulated by her genius. Andrew J. Beard invented the Jenny coupler in 1897, which is an automated dangerous link and pin rail coupling. His work improved freight efficiency and worker safety. Philip B. Downing created the street letterbox in 1891 with a weather shielding door for mail drop-off. Yes, a black man created the mailbox. John Stannard. In 1891, he invented the non-electric refrigerator and compact oil stove, the pioneer of non-electric appliances. Richard B. Spikes. He iterated the automatic gear shift and most automotive safety systems. Lloyd Hall. He advanced food preservation, using safer curing salts, using spice sterilization, and antioxidants. He created the industry-level shelf life. So what was the point to all of this? Reality reads like this list. Black Americans were already here, already building, and already creating everything. Designing the microphones inside your phone, the networks under your techs, the heat in your building, the optics in your space science, the cartridges that built an entire gaming industry, the clinical tools that dignify autonomous care, and the dull metal boxes swallowing your mail on the corner. Erasing the creativity and the genius of the original people isn't accidental. It's an act of violence. You can keep pretending you invented everything, sure. Or you can look around, call things what they are, and stop living on lies. Pretending to be superior in technology and a spiritual power you can't even use. The entire world can see the limitations of racists. The big question is, however, why can't you?
I actually did not know anything about black women inventors, but I do now. Marie Van Britten Brown invented the home security system because in 1966 she was like, I live in America. Alice Ball cured leprosy. Then a white man took the credit, of course. Dr. Patricia Bath invented a laser tool to remove cataracts. She was also the first black female physician to receive a medical patent. Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner invented the sanitary belt, which later became the pad, and companies literally rejected her because she was black. Marjorie Joyner made the permanent wave machine. It helped black women, it helped white women, and then it helped the world. Did she get rich? Absolutely not. Sarah Boone created the modern ironing board. She was born enslaved, and before Sarah, people only used planks. Valerie Thomas invented a 3D illusion transmitter. It's used for medical imaging and television. She worked at NASA, and they still use her technology today. Dr. Shirley Jackson worked on caller ID, call waiting, and touch tone phones, so you could ignore people more efficiently. She was also the first black woman to earn a doctorate from MIT. Sarah Good invented the fold-out bed. It used to transform into a desk. She was the first African-American woman to receive a U.S. patent. Marion Croak developed voice-over internet protocol. She literally made the internet talk. She holds 200 patents, and I hold grudges. Thank you.
Do y'all remember when Trump said, they taking all the black jobs? I bet you he wasn't thinking about this black job. Let me tell you something. Let's talk about one important black job that many of you have today, being a paramedic. Let's get into it. Did you know that the modern emergency medical service, EMS, owes their very foundation to a black-led team? Yes, sink it in. So let me take you back into the 1960s and introduce you to Freedom House Ambulance Service. Give it to him, give it to him. 1967, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Come on, y'all. They launched the Freedom House Ambulance Service. This was staffed with primarily black men and women. Now, y'all did hear the woman part, right? Men and women. Black. From undeserved neighborhoods, y'all. This wasn't just a job. It was a lifeline for their community. So at the time, ambulances were basically glorified taxi services. Think about it. Now, this really needs to be a movie. It really needs to be some kind of historic movie because black people saving lives before the whole program was even thought of, and they made the I told you, black people are the blueprint. And there was no national standard for emergency medical care. But the Freedom House, they changed it all. Now, they weren't just drivers. They were highly trained professionals who could administer CPR, manage airways, and even provide advanced life support. All I can say, when black people get together, we share that knowledge. Let's do this. I'm about to certify you. I'm going to teach you right because we about to save lives. Can you imagine? These black paramedics were the first to set the standards for the EMS protocols we use today. Y'all, give it up. So their work was so innovative, it became the blueprint for modern paramedic training. Sick man. They proved that people from marginalized communities could not only thrive in these roles, but excel. Yet, despite their excellence, they were faced with what? Every story has this. When we shine and when we glow, and here comes the hate. Hold on, y'all.
You never knew how it was going to turn out. It was a gamble. It was up to us at Freedom House to provide that care that they were not going to get from the police.
Freedom House Ambulance Service really turned into an incredible success story.
We didn't realize that in the very backyard of the Hill District, you had the father of CPR, Dr. Peter Saffer.
Dr. Saffer wanted to show that people they marked unemployable was really just waiting on opportunity.
They were black, they were trained, and they were keeping people alive. This is my first big call, and I'm going to save this person's life.
Faced with constant racism and systemic barriers, in 1975, the city of Pittsburgh disbanded Imagine that. The Freedom House and replaced it with a citywide EMS system, erasing their legacy for decades. If y'all caught the clue already, this pattern is in a lot of stories that I keep finding, right? Black people thriving, making a system that actually works. Then it gets somehow burnt down, tore down, taken, and it's revamped into whiteness. It was never a white thing. I'm gonna need y'all to take a pen, piece of paper, write it down. Because I want y'all to remember, every time you see an ambulance, I need you to remember that the jobs of saving lives began with paramedics, was pioneered by Black men and women who fought to prove the worth in a system that didn't even value them. Stealing from Black people is like, I swear that this country's hidden, it's not even hidden anymore. It is literally written between the lines. You get what I'm saying? So if you find somebody famous that supposedly have invented something, you know what I do? I check and see what Black person was around them around that time. And then I go research that person. And guess what I find? The innovation of whatever was created or invented came from that person. The paperwork was stolen and they made it their own. I keep finding that. Freedom House didn't just save lives. They redefined what it means to be a paramedic. So doesn't that make you think about other Black jobs that's out there that may have been whitewashed and overlooked? So let's talk about it in these comments. Maybe you already knew about a job that was originally a Black job and they turned it into something else and whitewashed it and act like they created it. Let me know in the comments what you think.
How often do young people grow up learning that Black minds help shape the systems they depend on? That's the issue. Not just contribution, but recognition. Because when history is incomplete, it affects identity, confidence, perspective, and the next generation grows up without understanding their full legacy. Meanwhile, stereotypes continue to spread, so now you have a system where the contributions are hidden, but the narratives are loud. And that imbalance shapes how people see each other. But here's what's changing. More voices are speaking up. More information is being shared. More people are demanding accuracy because this isn't about rewriting history, it's about completing it. So the question becomes, what happens when people finally learn the full story? Because once they do, the narrative shifts. And once the narrative shifts, so does power.